guys? It's February 18th, 2020, and you know why you're here. So let's kick this off right and introduce the players. Hey, I'm Gerissar, a PvP Padawan. Oh no. Oh my goodness. Hold on. We have an issue. Yeah. Apparently nobody else could hear you.
Me?
Yeah.
Or me.
Okay. I think let's do this again. Can everybody in chat hear us?
I'm gonna have to pull up Twitch
3,
to make sure.
2, 1. Yes. Okay, it's fixed.
Okay. I'll do that again. So to catch you guys up, that we just introduced ourselves really fast, and let me give you guys the TLDR on DMachine. So that's me. I played this game a lot. I met my now wife in the game. We hosted tournaments for fun. We eventually made it into a job by making an organization called GCD TV. We hosted, I don't even know. I think we hosted around 50 something tournaments in like less than 2 years. So we made a lot of tournaments, and then we eventually actually got hired together. This is something a lot of people don't know. We both got hired as what we call esport coordinators at Blizzard Entertainment to help support WOW Esports. And eventually, Hannah moved over to Overwatch League, so she's working on the Overwatch thing now. She's a big important missus over there, and I've stayed in WoW. I'm just not. I'm not good at FPS. What can you say? And I stayed on WoW, and I moved my way up, and I am now the product manager of the Arena World Championship,
which is amazing.
So, yeah,
congratulations there. It's so fun to hear when people just come up with a crazy idea of like, hey, let's just have community-based, arena tournaments, and then you work your way from that to the big league at Blizzard running the show.
Yeah, and I attribute a lot of that to some of the key players at Blizzard. Quick shout outs to Mr. Jared Colston and Brian Holinka. Yep. In 2014, there was an arena tournament. It was the Americas Regionals at the time, and it was actually in the Ballstein's Ballroom. I think I'm pronouncing it correctly, in New York City. And WoW was actually in the basement with like a small area of competition. And it was near. I lived in Connecticut at the time. I'm like, I'm gonna go and check this out. And I met Jared and Brian at that event. Context. I've never run an event before. I've made no content before this. I was just a fan. And they greeted me with open arms, and they spoke candidly to me. And I eventually actually got to learn more about the new spectating feature that those two implemented into the game. And I saw that spectating feature, and I'm like, this would be cool to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Blizzard as a whole recognizes passion, and I count my blessings for that.
Yeah, really so. The 2 times I've actually made it to BlizzCon, I've had a chance to talk to Jared, and my God, that guy has so much passion still for the game. He's been working there for so long, and he still he just really enjoys it.
Yeah, I mean,
he's always a pleasure to talk to.
He was in the original tournaments, man.
He was.
I think Jared's been involved in World of Warcraft esports longer than any person.
Well, he's like a godfather of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. My great joy was talking to Swole Linka.
Oh yeah.
Is how I referred to him. What a great, nice guy. But awesome.
Follow him on Instagram, please.
If you want to feel that you can improve your life.
He's an inspiration. Being an old man myself. All right. Well, hey,
Anyway.
how about let's stop talking about everybody else and let's talk about esports. And first and foremost, though, David. Usually, like we talk about what we've been up to since our last show. So,
Okay.
In the last 2 weeks, for the last 2 weeks, what have you been up to?
Huh. I've been pretty work focused. I'm not gonna lie. I think if I said like, "Oh, I've been playing video games and doing this and that," Hannah would probably be pretty angry at me for being dishonest because she's constantly calling out for my lack of work-life balance. But yeah, I've been pretty focused and heads down as the rest of the WOW Esports team on manifesting AWC and MDI. That's been my main focus.
Yes.
In my off time, as we just had Family Day, aka President's Day, depending on where you come from, Canada or the US. I had a 3-day weekend, and I'm proud to say my Windwalker Monk is now 462 item level. Looking for those 3v3 teams on Alliance.
Wow.
Hit up your boy.
There you go.
So
yeah.
What's that? 2100 rating?
I'm at like 2050 CR. I'm not gonna exaggerate, but yeah.
Hey, that's better than my 300. So
hey, it's gotta, at the end of the day, you know what the best advice someone gave me to get more rating?
What's that?
Is queue up.
Play more games. Yep.
Play more games.
That's the way to do it. Windstead, what have you been up to these last couple weeks?
So I have been in a little bit of a main spec class dilemma.
Okay.
Discipline Priest, I love the play style. I really enjoy it. The problem is, and I kind of see David smiling over there, Discipline Priest is just not in a great spot. I'm just not really excelling at the class and spec, and it may be my play style, it may be just what I'm doing with it. So I'm kind of running through the rest of my healers right now, trying to figure out what I'm going to play. I'm down between Monk and Paladin are the two that I'm kind of looking at. I know Druid is just really good. And every time I play it, I seem to win more than I lose. I just hate the HOTS play style.
Oh, interesting.
I just don't like that way of playing. And so I'm between Paladin and Monk, and we'll see how that all turns out. And now comes the gearing process for me, which
I got to be honest, 8.3 gearing is not hard. Getting gear, getting the exact perfect gear to min-max, that's hard. But just
and it's between the two classes is the problem. You know, it's not like I'm going, okay, this is my main and I'm gearing this one guy. It's like in order to get a really good feel of how it plays, I need to have decent gear.
Yep.
And in order to be able to compare the two, I need both to be on somewhat comparable levels. And so that's where my
it's tough, man.
It is
dilemma right now is picking that. So
fair.
But what about you, Gerissar? What have you been up to the past couple weeks?
Well, that's a good question. So I've been working on the legendary cloak level of my warlock. Got it up to rank 8 a couple days ago, so I'm pretty happy about that. Other than that, just messing around, doing doing invasions, doing world quest stuff. Occasionally, queuing for. Actually, no, I didn't do. I actually did not do any PvP. I was gonna say the only PvP I've done is actually invasions for the last couple of weeks. I've been pretty going pretty casual PvE PvPing. But I have been working. I grabbed my my Draenei Paladin, and I've been playing with him and leveling him up gear wise as well. And I got his legendary cloak up to I think level 3 now. So that's where I've been kind of doing that, and playing with the idea of if I want to keep with the warlock or just go over and start tanking mythics.
The mythic dungeons.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I salute you guys for these alt scenarios you're putting. That's a lot of work that you guys are committing to, man.
So Garrett, how many cap characters do you have?
Capped?
Capped characters. 120, not geared, but just capped.
5.
Oh, I mean, I have a lot of those.
Yeah.
I think I have 11.
No, I'm at 12.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've got 12.
But when it comes to like, high neck level, high cape essences, I got a monk. That's my main now. I've fully committed to the monk playstyle, IRL and in game.
Yeah, well, and
all about that meditation.
Conversation really leads well into my need, greed, pass scenario, because gearing has been a lot on my mind. So, Gerissar, why don't we shift right on into need, greed, pass?
You got it.
This likely won't be a clean, all right? So consistency!
All right. On to you, buddy.
All right. So, need, greed, pass is a scenario where we're going to go ahead and present our guest, as well as Gerissar, with 3 choices where they're going to choose need, greed, or pass. Now, because I've been trying to gear for the past couple of weeks and having some success, and it's hard to get the right pieces, I found myself going back in my mind over the different ways we geared in the game. So,
oh boy,
need, greed, pass.
Okay.
Titan forging, reforging, or WoW classical gearing structure. What is your need, greed, pass?
Oh, why do you gotta be like that, man?
Now we add some explanation to our reasoning.
Yeah, no, totally. You can explain your way.
By all means. So, I'll go ahead and shoot off mine first. Need classical gearing. I really enjoy knowing that that's the best piece of gear that I can get, and I know what I need to do to get it. And when I get it, boom, it's just, yes, now I can go use that gear in PvP, and I'm not chasing that next thing over the hill. So that's my need. Reforging, I'm going to greed. I thought it was nice that, hey, I didn't quite get the piece of gear that I wanted, but you know what? I can make this piece of gear more customizable towards what I'm doing in the game, even if it's not the best. And it's still, every eye level upgrade was still a move in the right direction to the best piece of gear. And then pass on Titan forging. Pass on Titan forging. You can get that best piece of gear, and until it Titan forges from the Mythic plus gem slot, it's just, it's just so hard and so random, and it's just too much. Too much randomization inside that. So there you go for me.
Want me to go second?
Go for it.
All right,
go for it.
All right. So the first, I'm gonna preface this with, I'm gonna leverage my personal opinion and my personal perspective. So I'm just gonna give that first thing first. Now, if you don't know what I do in game, and if you haven't watched my stream or my YouTube channel, I'm really into PvP. The end game for me is PvP. It's arena. It's weird, right? So with that being said, accessibility is kind of pertinent to me. And that's why I actually would choose reforging as my need. I'm 100% aligned with you, to be honest. I really like that, if I'm trying to min-max and get best in slot, classic actually scratched that itch for me quite a bit. And this updating, not only was it's fun for being able to constantly be able to feel like you're progressing your character, and so you're not inefficiently using your time, but I would definitely say reforging, it kind of implies that it has a similar amount of features to capture gear. Like, for example, when reforging was relevant, it was MOP, so it was conquest gear and honorable gear, and you could get some equivalent gear from some dungeons, but honestly, a lot of your gearing came from battlegrounds and various sources of PvP, and that's my preference. I would like to get my gear from PvP, went to PvP with. My greed would definitely be the classic version. I would 100% agree with all of the reasons that you listed. I think it's so clear cut. I still have these carrots in front of me where I can continue to progress my character for long periods of time, because this gear is hard to get.
Oh yeah,
but you are rewarded. So I like that a lot. And Titan forging, I think that's kind of the consensus, right? That this is a pass. It was cool, the idea of getting super lucky and freaking out when that one awesome moment. It was dope.
Yeah.
But all of the other moments that attributed to make that moment awesome, not so dope. So I would pass on that.
Or Titan forging the wrong piece of gear.
Woof. Yeah.
It's That's the one I hit my jackpot on, is that piece.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right.
No. Gerissar, need greed pass.
Okay. I'm going to say this, but it's going to be with a slight caveat. Is need greed and pass. Need. Or not, sorry, Titan Forging need it.
Whoa.
What?
Yeah. But
Shock.
the caveat... No, the caveat to that is that...
He's adding caveats now.
Yeah. The gearing from all sources needs to be evened. It needs to be evened out. I'm getting so sick and tired of PvP gearing being like the redheaded stepchild of the family in stats.
Yeah.
If you're PvPing.
Sometimes
the PvP gear is good in PvE.
Yeah, but for
like
the
crit.
most part, it feels like for the most part, the gear hasn't really been... Well, it's great if I get crit for PvE, but crit is useless in PvP because it's automatically 50%, right?
It's tough, yeah.
But I like the fact when I go in to do LFR and I just brain dump myself and do window licking mode, and I walk away with a huge piece of Titan Forge gear because I got super lucky. Right.
So what I'm taking away from this is you're just a filthy casual.
I have become that. Yes.
I don't want to work for my gear.
Why. Nope. Exactly.
I
had to work. I had to go into LFR, man. Do you know how much work that is?
It's true. And that can be a tremendous amount of effort to clear. I mean, mythic raids got nothing on it.
That's not true. Let's not say that.
Mythic raids are insane, but LFR is like harder than heroic.
So I'm going to greed on reforging. I actually really enjoyed the reforging. Yes, getting a new piece of gear, having to portal out, go through all the min-maxing, spend 1,000 gold on changing your gems and changing your chance and changing those stats because they didn't max out properly for you. But I still felt that was pretty good because you could do some pretty neat changes on how you wanted to weight your stats, and you could do some pretty funky stuff there.
Yeah. And one thing I wanted to note about reforging too that I actually forgot to mention is when you get to a certain cap of, like, say, you start seeing diminishing returns on like your haste in late game, right? Like, even if you didn't get the item with the best stats, you could still reforge to at least mid-max as capture the hit rating that you needed, or capture the the haste rating that maxes. Like, it wasn't just, oh, this gear sucks, I can kind of make it better. There was some customization to that.
I would adore right now to take my crit and turn it all into versatility.
Yeah.
Well, and to go back with that, it's like, oh, I don't have enough in my crit rating so that I get my Ice Lance proc 100% of the time. I don't have what is it, 23%, 24%?
Who plays Frost
for crit
anymore?
Cap? Don't hurt my soul. 23%, something like that for crit cap. And it's like, well, I don't have that 1 or 2 pieces of gear that'll hit me that cap and give me a ton of extra damage in other places. Yep. But you know what? I've got these 4 pieces of gear that I can reforge and get to that crit cap. So at least I'm viable.
Exactly.
All
right.
Yeah.
So on that, obviously, then my pass is going to be on classic gearing. I didn't mind classic gearing. I like the fact that you had that one piece you could chase into, but still, I mean, there's chances where you could run into the same dungeon 8 times and not get it. There could also be the chance where you run into the same dungeon 8 times and you get the piece of gear, but the Huntard rolls need on it and you don't get it.
That's true. That's true.
Well, you gotta call up the hunters, man.
Because they deserve it. They've done it to me. All right. Unfortunately, Andelin's not here, but
he did send me a message, and unfortunately, I can't get into my Twitter right now because my phone is dead and charging in another room. I do believe that he raved about Titan Forging and how much he absolutely adored it and loved it. No, I'm just kidding. No, he was need for the reforge.
You're such a troll.
Greed for the classic, and then pass on Titan Forging. And it was pretty much for the same reasons we've been talking about. He loved the ability to customize gear and to make it fit his play style for the moment until he got that good piece that was there. He also loved, there's that piece out there that I know where it is and I can go and chase it.
Mm-hmm.
But he did not like as much this is where the piece is, and now I have to pull this slot machine and hope that I get the Titan Forge gem slot miracle.
Okay. All right. Well, and I think there's a lot of people that probably feel the same way. Although Cinder streams in our Twitch chat said they would need on classic gear because they hate having to do maths. I hate doing maths too. That's why I went to ask Mr. Robot, and Mr. Robot did all the maths for me.
Yeah. So, shout out to the Sims.
That's never great to have to go to a third-party site though to calculate it out. And I mean, like
we do it all the time though. How often do you go to Wowhead to see a gearing best in slot or like what to pick for talents?
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I use those lists so much for classic.
Yeah.
Like
you got me.
Knowing.
Yeah, I admit defeat. You got me.
All right.
But no, I get where you're coming. It's one thing to calculate, and it's another thing to like educate yourself on locations things drop. Because like I think what we're talking about is like at a glance knowing if this is a better piece than what you have, and the complications of an Azurite trait might not make that intuitive. So you want to go and you have a robot tell you, and yeah, I get it. I know well, that being said, I would say there's a lot of brainstormers like in the high echelon of players who can leverage these things, especially when like in a scenario like PvP. There's a bunch of scenarios you can't parse a non-moving boss fight around. So sometimes that comes with testing. I love when it's complicated enough that you actually need to you have to get creative with it. That's kind of cool. But on the other hand, it's not great to get a piece that might not be an upgrade, even if it's a high level.
That I like about your talking there is like when it's not incredibly great for the game for something to be broken, but the example of when Guardian Druids turned out to be really good in PvP.
Right.
The guys who figured that out and were able to hold on to that long enough to perform well. I mean, hats off to the people who can figure those things out and then apply it, and then
you see it time and time again.
It's hats.
I mean, there was a Legion tournament with Ret Paladins had a cleanse on like every time that they healed. I think. No, there's some sort of talent, but basically assassination rogues are really, really strong, and everyone had the rogue mage.
I remember,
or rogue DK being the best of the best, and then all of a sudden, a team came out with Ret Rogue, and the whole bracket shifted. Everyone's like, we need to go pick up a Ret Paladin because this is like a really good counter to the rogue, and all about those mind games and those brainstorms. I could talk about that literally forever. Sorry.
No, we love to talk about PvP here. But if we want, rather than talking about events that have happened in the past, why don't we talk about what's coming up?
Ooh,
totes! What a segue!
Yeah.
All right, and I'm going to start the bumper again.
Get in there and fight! Stop hiding!
All right.
Props on that segue.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I work on those. All right, so upcoming PvP events. We do this every episode. There's actually a couple that I always have here, but the only one that's really mainstayed lately is Dalaran Gaming is still doing the 5v5 1v1 duels. Again, go over to his Twitter feed and follow him. And if you want to, I know he posts the streams there, but he streams over at YouTube Gaming. So keep an eye out on that.
It's awesome.
These are really fun to watch.
They are.
I do want.
Dude, I love these.
Yeah. These are so entertaining because it is like it's Pokemon style is what you have in your show notes, and it's such an apt way of putting it. You got 5 guys on one team and any class spec that they want, 5 guys on the other team, and they each pick one guy to go out, and you have to duel the other spec 1v1.
Yep.
And for every win, your team gets a point. For every loss, you don't get points.
I think he actually does last man standing. So
you can bring it all home.
Yeah, so you have to be really strategic because you can go out there and you can blow all your cooldowns on the first person, but then your cooldowns are all on cooldown, and then the next person comes out and right.
It's a whole new mind game. I actually love these so much. If for those of you who've been watching these for tournaments or community events for a while, you might remember Soda Poppin's 1v1 tournaments. Where he got prevalent or relevant, I should say, like players to compete in it. And I mean, it's so cool because people who are like staggering their cooldowns and stuff like that can, make some crazy stuff happen.
Exactly.
If you really want to look into how much potential this type of format has, look up Venruki King of the Hill. That is by far my favorite. Venruki basically 1v5s. It's incredible on his monk. So 1v1s have a lot of potential in my opinion.
Do.
I mean, there's a lot of outplay in certain classes.
Totally. And we've already seen how successful they are just with the classic duels that Tipsout has been doing, right? So All right. So moving on, I know I've been touting about Flark's tourneys. I said this I think last time, but his tournaments are on hold right now. He's been focusing on getting some of his gear leveled up with the new expansion, and then also some RBG stuff. But my understanding is that he's going to be bringing back some of his tournaments as well. So head over to his Discord, check that out. And then this actually just got announced just last week, but Method's doing a Mayhem series. So the day to kick off, we'll talk about that in what's happened when we get to the end of the podcast. But up and coming, they're doing a 3v3 series between NA and EU. So the first one is going to be this weekend, actually. The 22nd of February is going to be NA. And then the weekend following that on the 28th is going to be EU. And then it's just going to, again, March for week 2 of NA and EU. And the grand finals, again, going to be in March. So really excited to see how that goes. Always appreciate seeing the community stuff come up. And these are other teams that, like, some of them are players that you recognize, but they're just different teams because reasons. And I'm really excited for this because this is giving us kind of a neat taste as to what is corruption doing and the new gearing stuff. And it's kind of interesting.
I'm so excited for these. I mean, I'm freaking out about it. I mean, if you take a gander at like the Battlefy pages of these and you see who signed up, I mean, we got the Golden Guardians signing up. If you don't know who the Golden Guardians are, they're the move, otherwise known as Wiz K, Jelly Beans, Absurge, and Peekaboo. Exactly. We have Method Orange main team. We have Cloud9 main team. We have the Boys main team. I mean, these powerhouse rosters, and to me this is really exciting to see rosters from year to year stick together. One, not only for the organizations they represent, but also our format changed to 4-player rosters, so we're trying to encourage them to basically roll with the punches of the patches to adapt. And the fact that these guys are all sticking together makes me super excited. But one other roster that I also wanted to shout out was Unitas. If you guys don't know who Unitas is, they're a Latin American roster, but they actually are not. They're like half Gronks, half Unitas. So if you don't know who the Gronks are, they're an Australian team. So I don't want to allude to some of your questions later, but Australia and Latin America are expected to compete in the NA Cups. And so they're kind of mixing this roster together to make like a super team. And like Aiden is one of those rogues who I think has a huge amount of potential behind him. I think he's super skilled. He's competed normally out of the Latin American region. But Yask, I mean, he was on multiple LAN stages already, playing alongside Vanguard's top tier player, and Oxygen and CMD won the last APAC LAN. This roster, even though that they're not like household names that you know now, they could be. They definitely could be.
Indeed.
Sorry.
No. It's fantastic.
I'm so into these tournaments.
I only glanced at how many teams were signed up, but I didn't actually. I was like, oh, Unitas. Okay, it's going to be Unitas. I didn't think to click on that and see who was actually in it.
Oh yeah, these players. Okay, I'm not going to complain.
No, Nightwish. That's not nice.
But Nightwish they always sign up last minute, man. Yeah, every time. Holy moly! So when we host our cups too, we're like, we're letting all our support teams know, like, getting everything ready, getting the realm ready, and then we just get the hugest influx in teams in the last minute, and we're just like, whoa!
Yeah,
we'll probably see the similar thing here. So right now they have 12 teams confirmed,
2 pending.
Currently pending for NA, and I'll expect similar numbers for EU for sure.
All right, I kind of cut you off there. Sorry. Nightwish had a really funny. Kind of funny because it's true, but kind of also like, but why are Australian players expected to play at 3 a.m. for the MDI?
It's fair, yeah.
It's fair. True. I mean, but we don't know. We don't know what time they're actually going to be happening, though, right?
So
I would argue that it's because if they were playing fresh, they'd probably just win it outright, and we want to be fair, at least some level. I don't know. Just talking up the Aussies. I love those guys.
When it comes to like finding a time zone that works for everyone within that division, it's effectively impossible. Yeah. So the best course of action at that point, in my opinion, and I can't really speak for why this decision was made 100% because I am the representative for more arena than I am for MDI. But at the end of the day, we need to do what's best for our objectives. And one of our main objectives is viewership, right? Yeah. So unfortunately, one of the things that we did learn was, what might be the most optimal time for Australian players to compete might not be the most optimal time for our main viewer bases to consume and to follow along with our content. So we got to prioritize what's best for the program for the sake of the future of the program. I hope that answers that question best.
So in other words, we need to reach out to energy drink sponsorships for our Aussie brethren.
I don't know if it's a financial thing. I think it's more of an exposure thing, right? We want to know. Yeah. We want to make sure everyone can watch.
Yeah.
Well, and branding is a thing, right?
That is true.
Well, how about this?
I'm a Monster fan myself.
Hey, Monster, we're not supported by you yet, but if you want, technically PvP@gmail.com. Send me an email.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, don't just isolate Monster. It could be, Coca-Cola Gaming. There's a lot of things.
Oh my dude! If Coca-Cola Gaming started sponsoring us, cents on the dollar. All right,
I will drink Coke every show.
Well, how about it? Since we're already talking about this, let's get into the subject of analysis and actually talk about the WOW Esports plan for 2020 and what's coming down the pipe.
Let's do it.
I'm gonna light you up, sweet cheeks.
All right. So the 2020 plan came out. It's up on the official website. The esports page has all been updated. The rule books are out. Holy moly. Wait, when you first kind of look at it, you're like, oh, that's the same. But it's not. Like, there's some really interesting there's some big changes and there's also some minute changes, right? So, hey, David, it's your bailiwick.
Sure.
Why don't you give us a quick rundown? What's going on? What are we going to see this year?
Absolutely. So, before going into the full calendar year, I'm going to focus on Battle for Azeroth. So MDI and the Arena World Championship, if you're unfamiliar with what MDI stands for, it's the Mythic Dungeon International, will be hosting 2 seasons or 1 season each to cap off Battle for Azeroth. So a BFA finals will be hosted for both programs. MDI is going to kick off in April. It's going to host 6 weekends in total, 3 cups for EU/Asia and 3 cups for the Americas. Those cups will reward points, and the top point earners will then qualify to the LAN, which we're probably aiming to be like in midsummer.
Okay.
AWC will kick off right after with 4 weeks of NA and EU cups. Now, if you're unfamiliar with how AWC does their cups, is that they actually intermingle regions within the same week. So on Fridays, we're going to have the EU cups starting, and then on Saturdays, the NA cups will start. We'll actually culminate and see the top 4 finishes of both NA and EU on Sunday.
Okay.
So
I like that.
We'll have 8. We'll have 8 tournaments in total, all happening in 4 action-pack weeks, and then that's basically how that works.
I'm gonna have
same. And so after that, they will qualify just like the MDI point earners. AWC point earners will qualify to a LAN tournament, and unlike any time before, this finals will not host any teams other than North American and European teams. So Will Latin America and Asia and Australia will still be capable of qualifying through the NA Cups, but we will not be seeing any Korean or Chinese players at this particular LAN.
Okay. Right. I gotta ask, like, what's the reasoning behind that? Like, is there a plan for Asia and Latin America and APAC?
Yeah. So when, diving back into our plans and really identifying the goals for our programs and also the goals for our communities, we wanted to ensure that, we're putting our best foot forward. So there still is plans to have tournaments in Korea. There still is plans to have tournaments in China. Where they feed into is kind of the point of discussion. And so when you're looking at these different regions and you're comparing their participation, not only in their, in the game itself, but also in the tournaments, they actually have a lot less participation in the arena. In particular, I think there's some grandfathered stuff with China's pay models that might be affecting that. Like they have one clear objective to go and raid. They can't try other. There's a variety of reasons that I can speculate about, but ultimately the idea that I have, and this is speaking from a personal perspective at this point, is I kind of want there to be a GCD in each of these regions. Like I kind of want to build these communities up naturally instead of trying to stand them up with money and like, here's a bunch of cash. Yeah. Give me your best team. I want to actually build a community. I want to build incentive for them to, put forth their best teams. And so with that all being said, I will allude to one thing. This isn't the only opportunity these guys are going to be able to compete in. When we're talking about the BFA seasons, there's much more things in the works that I'm sure we'll be seeing these players compete at.
Oh, okay.
I'll allude to it more later in relevant questions in the future.
So from what I'm seeing here, I'm just trying to make sure I understand. So so in a 4-week period, there'll be 4 tournaments, and then a LAN, and then we'll have 4 more tournaments, and then the world champion. Is that getting that right?
In a normal program year, yes. So we're actually calling this like a transitional year. So this is the end of BFA, and one of the I'm actually just gonna break it down and give you guys some serious context here.
We are technically PvP, so fire away.
Get technical.
So when I first got hired as a coordinator, there was actually a bunch of scribble on the whiteboard behind my desk when I first got there, and it showed Warlords of Draenor at the top, and then at the bottom it said BlizzCon, and then in the middle there was a bunch of squiggly lines and like chaos. And basically what they were saying is that there was going to be an expansion that year. And they needed to figure out a tournament integrity, kosher way to qualify teams from this period of time in time for visas and everything and all the logistics for BlizzCon. And unfortunately, it means qualifying in a different expansion. Yeah. This has been a problem in a tournament integrity thing for literal years. Yeah. And one of the things that we want to do, and I can't commit to doing it, but this is the direction that we're walking towards, is to avoid having to do that. So, normally we'd have a bunch of cups and some mid-year lands and another land and then the big finals for the land, and that's how we normally would do things. It's how you're used to it. But now we're going to do that, but that's going to start at the end of every calendar year instead of the beginning. So the beginning of our program would actually be, November, December even, and then we would actually end by like maybe late summer.
Okay.
And that would be the rotation, right? So that would be but that being said, this year we still got to do something cool, right? It's the end of BFA.
Yeah.
I mean, the game is still happening and players are still competing at a very high level. And, we also want to send BFA off, with a bang. So to do that, we're actually hosting a really big LAN. So this LAN in this season would effectively be the equivalent next year to the final season and the final LAN of the full program year.
Okay. Wow.
Does that make sense?
So it does. And that also, so is that the reason why there's that big of a prize? Like you've essentially put a year's worth of prize pool into a season.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of reasons for that. Number one, and I don't know if you want to get into this now because I imagine you have questions for it. But number one, obviously BlizzCon was an issue for us, and specifically the prize pool. So for context, we started doing crowdfunding last year, and crowdfunding was really cool and it had a lot of potential.
Yeah.
But we do everything with a philosophy that we like to call crawl, walk, run.
Yeah.
And so we had a prize pool allocated year over year of like 250,000 to the World Championship Finals for Arena. And this was the first time that we're going to get MDI on the stage and we're going to get them a World Championship prize pool. And so the idea was, okay, we'll start off with, a toy. We've never sold a toy in the store. We had no idea how it was going to perform. And we put it up there and we said, hey, if we're going to use pros. We had a pretty good idea of how it was going to sell, right? Like we have some idea on like how much we had minimums, right? And so we're like, okay, so 25% of this will go to the prize pools, and this will probably be around this number that we're guesstimating. And we also said in the blog post, if we don't hit that number and no one buys these toys, we'll at least put 500K down.
Yeah.
And that was just not communicated properly,
Yeah.
to say the least. There was a lot of miscommunication. And honestly, the goal was to start crowdfunding and to iterate on it and to slowly grow it up. We didn't want to just like immediately drop a huge bomb, because that's when sustainability and longevity is my priorities. Right.
Fair enough,
and I don't want to just, come in with guns ablazing unjustifiably so. So it was supposed to be an iterative process that we honestly just did a really piss poor job communicating. And going into this year, we wanted to, one, recognize the hard work that these players put forth, but two, extend an olive branch, if you will.
Yep.
So this year, sorry.
So I mean, if I have these numbers right, it's $10,000 per cup
for AWC.
And so there's going to be for AWC, Arena World Championship. I'm mildly interested in MDI, but I like player versus player more than player versus dungeon.
Just give us some context. Sure.
Giving you context. Okay, so that's $80,000 for all the cups plus $500,000 for the finals.
That's correct. Yeah.
So right off the bat, boom.
Yeah. That's 580,000 in total prize pools for the teams, and that ends in July.
This summer, yeah.
So,
okay.
Wow, it got really dark in here already. But yeah. I mean,
the sun goes down.
Yes. So not only is this the biggest prize pool the Arena World Championship has ever put forth, it's also some of the shortest runway of qualification, which is why I believe every single one of these AWC Cups that's right around the corner are going to be so explosive.
Yeah.
Yes.
So competitive.
You see,
I mean, people are queuing main team right now every day. You don't see that until we're like a couple weeks out from Milan. We are like a month, 2 months out from the first cup, and people are already doing this.
Yeah.
The level of gameplay is going to be really exciting.
Okay. And just to run on top of that, though, is the MDI, you're doing $15,000 per cup, but there's only 6 cups. So that's $90,000. Right. But then there's a $300,000 prize pool for them. So that's $390,000 total for EU and NA on that side.
Right.
So, I mean, overall, that's still a major increase, especially for MDI. That's a major increase.
Oh, yeah.
And it's still a really large increase if you consider that this is 6 months. It's a year's worth of money in 6 months. And you haven't even talked about what's happening after that.
I do want to preface that a little bit. I'll allude to something. So if you're looking at Arena and you listen to what I just said, think of Arena as big, small, big, small, big, small. That's the cadence we're looking for, right?
Okay.
Now think of MDI as medium, 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 medium.
Okay.
So if you were to think about it that way, and you were able to see my calendar instead of the one that's public, you can kind of get an idea. It's Arena and MDI are constantly getting compared to each other, but to be honest with you, they're equal in our eyes. And MDI has crazy awesome viewership and has a really strong following already. Yeah. So I know it's difficult to do, but don't interpret the initial numbers as any sort of messaging from us. We love all of our children equally. We do. I promise.
How many kids do you have?
How many kids do we have?
Well, yeah,
wouldn't you like to know?
Maybe too private. Maybe too private. But I know I have a favorite, and it changes from day to day.
So here's what I will say about that. I am very lucky to be a product manager on a very collaborative team, and I'm very lucky to be a product manager on a game that has so many awesome features.
It really, and that's the joy of World of Warcraft, is that there is it. Whether you want to just make gold in the auction house or raid at the mythic level,
right?
It's just such a great game.
So I have one question then: if you view everything equally, when is Pet Battles Esports coming online?
You should tweet at Zorbex.
I should
to figure that out.
That's not a bad idea to have. Just a little.
Yeah.
Play it in. What you do? You play the pet battles in between the arena matches.
I've actually seen people do that.
I honestly don't. I like pet battles a lot. I got really into
I do
it.
too. That's a guilty pleasure of mine.
Yeah. I guess the only thing is you can only really do pet battles when you're playing Horde because the queue times are long enough that you could actually get through a pet battle.
Oh, okay. All right. A little bit of Horde shade right there.
Yeah. Right. Okay. There's so many questions. Okay, so
yep.
I want to break something down here. I know I'm kind of jumping around. Like we lined up some questions for you, but I'm kind of jumping around a bit. So let's talk regions here. So understanding AWC, you got your EU and your NA. Yes.
Yep.
These other regions can join in and qualify, but as far as actual land times come, there's no intention to really bring people in from outside of those two official geographic regions. But then in the MDI, you guys have changed it so you have East and West. So last year, the Western Hemisphere was Europe and North America, and the Eastern Hemisphere was the rest, essentially. This year, though, you guys have done where basically the Asian continent is the eastern side, so that's and Europe, so that's all encapsulated together, and then North America, the Western is the rest of the Pacific region, North America, South America, right?
Right. Yeah. And we actually label it EU/Asia's and Americas because it also encompasses Latin America.
Yes. What was the reason behind that? I'm just wondering.
Definitely. Well, I mean, number one for me is the performance of the East Cups. I mean, they were at a really hard time for a lot of us to enjoy. So the viewership, on platforms like Twitch was not as strong as some of our other ones. But not only that, but it was also the competition themselves. We actually felt the competition was a little heavily handed on one side over the other. It wasn't evenly distributed when it comes to the player base who focuses specifically on Mythic Keystones. So those are a couple of reasons, but when it comes to all of these changes, we're very iterative. And when it comes to trying to find the very best format, I have the philosophy doesn't exist. We're always chasing it. So one, there's, you don't want to make too many changes too often. When you figure out something, you stick with it, kind of like our point system. But when it comes to, making changes that we think will benefit the program in the long term, I think this was a good one.
Okay, I like it.
Along with kind of going on with the regions and stuff, a question I've had is, where, and this may be something that is blatantly out there, and I've just never taken the time to go and find it out. Where do you go to accept people who are enlisting their teams to compete in these tournaments?
So
for a lot of our listeners, I mean, we got, people who think, what, $10,000 and play PvP. Why not give it a try?
Yeah,
they're all open registration. Anyone can sign up and compete. So I appreciate that plug. Head on over to worldofwarcraft.com/AWC for Arena and worldofwarcraft.com/MDI for Mythic Dungeon International.
Yep.
those places will able to redirect you to the respective sign up link. But we currently are hosting our signups on Battlefy. So make sure to go on to Battlefy and hit follow on that. So that's actually all those links and all this information actually can be found in the blog post, the announcement blog post we linked or we released on the 16th.
Okay.
Perfect. Or the 13th.
Perfect.
One of those dates. It's all a blur.
And so no requirements. I'm Joe Smo. I pull out, a 1500 rating because I'm very casual. I could get 3 other players, make a team, and we could play this. We could go.
Yeah, I mean, shout outs to Ratipai. I mean, that's how he got his start, man. I don't know if you're familiar with that guy, but he was a priest that was able to make a couple lands, playing a really strong rogue mage priest. And that dude watched some of our events, played, casual in the meantime, started taking it seriously and made it. And he was able to make it to LAN and travel the world. So, anyone can do it.
So if I understand correctly, though, there's the AWC side, which is just sign up to the Battlefy, whatever, right? And then there's the MDI side, which is you have to submit a team. You get onto the TR realm. You have to do time trials, and you guys only pick the best time trials to go to the LAN. Or no, sorry, not to go to LAN. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's to go to the tournament, and then the best point earners from the tournaments then go to the LAN.
Yeah, that's correct. I would mention that the time trials aspect of it is open bracket now. So before we had this thing called the Proving Grounds, which we kind of, funneled, people who were a bit more serious about this sort of thing with a very easy to accomplish, achievement. And then from there, we would determine who the best teams were to make it to broadcast. It's the same sort of shtick as Arena as it is for MDI. You can compete in time trials. Anyone can sign up and compete in time trials. What gets you to broadcast is making top 8, and that's consistent across AWC and MDI. If you make top 8 in your time trials runs, you will make it to broadcast and you'll compete for that money.
Nice. You got to get top 8 to earn the bucks.
Okay. For MDI at least,
Yeah. All right. I just want to point out because I did I reach out to community every once in a while. I talk to people. I just going back quickly to the MDI thing. I heard, and I'm not sure if you can talk about this or not, but I heard that part of the reason for the change to how the regions were set up was also because certain regions had an issue with NA and EU being kind of the powerhouse of competitions. That they asked for that split up, so then it wasn't suddenly like bringing in the the 4th graders into a NBA style court and saying, okay, come on, let's play, boys. I'm not sure. Did you hear anything about that, or pardon me?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that I was a little disappointed with some of the Aussie teams because they are so strong. But there was a lot of when it came to the challenges of practice and prepping for time trials and stuff like that, it was just the turnaround change and the logistical change and the time boxness. A lot of them didn't like. And so a lot of teams actually ended up not competing. And when they weren't competing, that region was not as strong, to say the least. And so, I think that definitely a part of it is a distribution of strengths, distribution of population of players who, are the top contenders for sure.
Okay.
It's never a good feeling to be like, oh man, I wish I was in that division because it's so much easier to qualify. We want both divisions to have their own strengths and weaknesses, but I think NA and EU have always kind of had like that natural competitive, backing behind them, and I think we're gonna see, and we saw in AWC all the time, but I think we're gonna see it definitely manifest this year too.
Yes.
In MDI.
Cool. All right. There's one thing we haven't talked about yet, and I've been holding on to this just because I was waiting for the right spot. YouTube.
Oh, that was yes.
So there's a great news article that came out back in January, where a whole bunch of the Blizzard esports were moving from Twitch over to YouTube. There was Overwatch, Hearthstone, StarCraft, and some others, if I remember the news article from Overwatch. And then in your guys' blog post for the WoW Esports, it was highlighted the fact that this is also part of it. So it looks like the whole Blizzard Esports franchise is moving over to YouTube Gaming for all the streaming and then post VODs. This has already been pointed out from some people. There's some major concerns with, because everybody wants viewership. Everybody wants to have people watching their streams. And then also on Twitch, it was always great. I don't know about you. I adored when I was sitting in a stream and I watch all of the method symbols just fly by, and then there'd be all the move and all that. It was just awesome. You'd have all like these different emotes and stuff like that. And this branding was just amazing. And I know there's some concerns. I'm just gonna first and foremost, I'm going to unpack this. First and foremost, the change to YouTube. What is that going to bring to the WoW Esports? What does that help us have?
That's a great question. And it's a question that's going to be answered over the next few months too. So first and foremost, I would like to say that competition is always good, right? When it comes to platform competition, it's never a bad thing for the consumer, us. When it comes to the different features that Twitch was able to put forth and develop over time, they were awesome. I know that they were super, super valuable, especially with like the different communities and stuff like that. But we are toying with quite a few different projects to still have a lot of community interaction. And I can't really go into the deets on a lot of these things, but basically what I'm trying to say is that we're going to do our very best to have our cake and eat it too. Okay. Another thing that I wanted to say about YouTube is I think a lot of people are sleeping on it. Honestly, like I think that when it comes to esport consumption, a lot of it's not live. A lot of it, in fact, I would say close to 40% of most esport franchises is actually consumed through VODs. There is no secret that our VOD situation was not awesome. When it comes to watching our content retroactively on Twitch, it's difficult to navigate to. You can't search for it. And YouTube's just the king when it comes to VODs.
It is.
So I'm really excited about leveraging YouTube thoroughly for that. I'm also really excited about the Warcraft channel having 1.5 million subscribers. Some new people that we might be able to check out our channel. When it comes to concurrent viewership, though, I would be lying if I knew that we were going to hit the numbers that we wanted. But I'm optimistic. One, Call of Duty and OWL did pretty dang good when it comes to their concurrent viewership. And I have to say, Hearthstone didn't necessarily hit the mark for us. No. And I think there's a lot of reasons. To me, I would attribute it, one, to the crazy turnaround. I mean, the deal came out the week that they broadcasted. Yeah. So when it comes to preemptive work to promote this event, I mean, it was effectively non-existent. Not only that, there was a lot of best practices that we were testing out for the first time ever. Like, for example, should we broadcast on the Play Hearthstone channel and the Esport Hearthstone channel? So we did both. And, we noticed that there was a couple of issues when it comes to discoverability on the platform. Finding the localized language streams was really tough. Yep. So there was a lot of learning lessons, but not only from Hearthstone, but also from Call of Duty and Overwatch. And I'm optimistic. And not only that, I would say that the amount of consumption of WoW videos on YouTube is pretty bananas. Really? Pretty awesome. Yeah. I mean, if you look up at like WoW fandom videos and people who've made a living off of, just making videos about WoW on YouTube, when comparing it to, say other games, I would actually say that WoW's got a pretty decent following. So I'm not trying to say I have the answers, but what I am trying to say is that I'm optimistic.
Fair enough. Yeah.
So I want to grab a question from the Twitch chat. Something that's kind of poking around a lot is gearing process, but you're not a gear guy. You're not on that side of the development process.
No, I'm not.
So
I'm gearing with you.
One thing that did come up was the focus on. We've seen recently like the 2v2 duel.
Yeah.
On, and this quiet rumbling all the time of a RBG competition of some sort. And what I want to phrase this carefully because it's not like Blizzard's going to do stuff that helps promote the game. And what can we as players do to push Blizzard in that direction to possibly hosting more 2v2 matches and more, and putting on a rated battleground tournament?
I think I think it's time to technically PvP host battleground tournaments. I think that's what it means.
We're gonna have to figure this out.
In all seriousness, though, we're super receptive to community feedback. I mean, we might move like a snail that's been stepped on, but we are moving. I promise in the direction that you guys recommend. So, for example, GCD TV hosted 4-player rosters before Blizzard did.
Yep.
We actually, a lot of our tournaments, we iterated on this draft for tournament after tournament after tournament. It's now the official mandate of the tournament format now. And mind you, I didn't implement that, even though I invented it. It was actually someone else at Blizzard who recommended it. Okay. So it wasn't like one of these like self-fulfilling prophecies. But with that being said, it definitely helped change the view internally to, try it out. So if we're looking to basically prove that a venture is worthwhile, the community's request for it is definitely, you don't have to host a tournament, but that will definitely be a big deal. The community sentiment is definitely always around BGs. We're not giving up on BGs. BGs will always be around. Will we be hosting tournament, like a big long program tournament? Nothing's currently planned, but that doesn't necessarily mean we don't have BG tournaments planned. You might have saw the 6v6 tournaments that GCD TV did.
Yep.
I want to continue to do those. 6v6 tournaments is something near and dear to my heart. I'll never forget watching Jamili and Peekaboo run this life grip into shadow step crazy combo to catch up to these Mistweaver monks who were porting on top of Warsong Gulch. Like that sort of creativity they kept getting ported and juked by this thing. And so eventually Jamili sat on one corner where he life gripped Peekaboo up, where he was close enough in range where he could shadow step onto the monk.
Yep.
That type of creativity we only see in Battlegrounds, right? I mean, that type of quick on the spot, create reaction based content that's very focused on the landscape. You see it so much. So BGs are near and dear to my heart. I'm going to continue to invest in them. I'm going to continue to experiment with them. But if you're in the BG community and you want Battlegrounds to be a competitive part of it, rally your fellow RBG players and make community events.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
That's my number one advice I can give. And if you are interested in hosting community events, reach out to me. I taught myself everything there is to know about the community organizer, which is the add-on of the interface that you watch and how to spectate war games and how to queue for spectated war games. It's all not super intuitive, and I'd be more than happy to walk anyone through how to do all that if they're interested in running their own tournament.
Sweet.
Makes sense.
Sweet.
And I think it's proven already. There's one thing to try to ask a company to grow something, but like you said, it's growing something community wise, and then having the actual official company grab onto that, rather than trying to have a company just throw money at something, because
throw something at the wall, see if it sticks.
Yeah,
but we're kind of doing that too, because a lot of these community community events, like the last 6v6 tournaments and the 6v6 tournaments before that, they were all actually sponsored by Blizzard. So they're actually in partnership with us to test it. So it was actually an initiative by us and we're going to continue those initiatives. And if there's ever a community organizer out there who's interested, there is support available for you. Not only, from advice, but also from interface options and, even sometimes sponsorship opportunities. I can't commit to anything, obviously, to everyone, but reach out to me, man. There's opportunities there, and that's always
that's the key, is that if you want to see it, then guys, we have a person on the inside who's willing to help.
I will help.
I believe that email is wowesportsadmin@blizzard.com, right? I think
the boss, right?
Honestly,
if there's a Bob Ross email at blizzard.com, I would I'm done. I'm done.
I didn't say Bob Ross. I said the boss.
Oh, I said Bob Ross.
But Bob Ross is awesome.
I
Okay.
got some curly hair, man. I don't know.
So put a tree right here.
I'll throw this out here. If you ever signed up for an Arena Cup, you have my Discord. If you follow me on Twitter at DMachine52, my DMs are open. Please, you're more than welcome to ping me.
Awesome.
Now, so kind of from Twitch and also from our show notes, these two are going to kind of overlap a little bit because a lot of people are like, apparently I touched a nerve when I started the Need Greed Pass about gear.
Always, man. That's a tough one, man.
We've seen a huge shift in the game with corrupted gear.
Yep.
And so what are you guys prepping for on your side? It's kind of like, are you guys going to allow corrupted gear into the MDI, into the AWC? I can imagine more so on MDI, but on the Arena side, that's a very touchy concept there, where we're bringing in this PvE mechanic into our PvP arenas.
Mm-hmm.
And I've already been laid to waste a couple of times by what is that? Stars?
The Infinite
Stars.
Infinite Stars. Yeah, I can tell when that procs on somebody because I usually just
it's
die.
huge. Yeah. A big chunk. Yeah.
It's like, okay,
right,
I'm dead.
Right up there with Tendril with an unholy DK.
Yeah. So how are those? What are you guys kind of expecting to do with those in? Arena. I know in MDI it's not that big a deal. You want guys to just try and break the game really and see what they can do. But on the Arena side, it can be very, you can be doing everything perfectly, and then all of a sudden, I got this proc, and now you're dead.
Right. So there's a couple of things I want to unpack here. First of all, our current state of the game that we're in right now. We're still developing like our cloak and our necks and stuff like that. And as your neck gets higher, and honestly, if you get the new Azurite pieces too, our stamina like freaking skyrockets, right? So right now, I think a lot of the high-end PvP players are happy with the pacing if they have corruption. Yep. They're happy with the pacing because there's just damage happening. I think a lot of the issues that top competitors were running into before is that, it actually felt like they felt like nothing could happen until dampening. And that's obviously not the case anymore. There's a lot of stuff that can happen. It can be a trike trinket. It can be, tendrils that you have to smash because they're owning you. But basically, before we come to any like conclusions, I think it's important that, we get our characters to that point, which mind you, our MDI is kicking off in April and Arena in May. So before, we, commit that this is what the templates are going to show on the tournament realm, we need to collect some more data to really know. Okay. I will say, right now for Arena, I think a lot of players are opting to stick with just like one tier 3 or maybe like one tier 3 and a tier 2 corruption piece, just because Thing from Beyond in Arena is terrifying. It's terrifying. And not only that, but spite trinkets are becoming more and more common. I don't know if you guys have been keeping up with a lot of the clips, but Super T's just got hit with a hard one from a triple spite trinket. And like a lot of monks are prevalent right now in Arena. So, they're abusing the knocking a monk into a wall over, or knocking a player into the wall over, or ring a piece and dropping a spite underneath them. There's a lot of creative ways to use a lot of this stuff. So I think it's important for us to continue to monitor and see how this all shakes up before confirming for sure. But I will say, I'll leave my statement with this. Corruption gear is a really big part of 8.3 as a game feature, and I want to make sure that important game feature is somehow represented in our competitions. And what capacity is to be determined, unfortunately.
Okay. Glad to know you guys are at least looking at it and keeping an eye on it.
Oh, very thoroughly.
So I just want to ask one question then, because I know this was asked of me this was actually asked of me to make sure I ask this.
Okay.
Is there going to be a cap limit put on how much corruption a person can wear?
I'm not sure.
That might be a good way to fix the problem.
When it comes to the corruption, I know I think there was like a tweet or something about a player was concerned that, everyone's just going to put on not like ludicrous amounts of corruption to just like do a crazy amount of damage and maybe just like take the consequences and run back, or I'm not really sure how that would work. So for me, I think it's
that too. Yeah.
To me personally, it's important to note that no one on live has a level 15 cloak, right? So by the time that we get to April, we might have 15 level. That might be where the norm is, right? Everyone's at level 15 cloak, and so who knows what kind of resistance that will allow to maybe weigh a more safe approach to corruption. So before we go and limit all the vendors and say no, this is what's more like live. First, I want to see like if in the game in and of itself, I know, like for example, on 2 of my characters, I have like 4 corruption pieces each. They might not be BIS, but I have corruption. I can go well over my resistance on both of my characters if I wanted to, and I haven't found the weight of that to be worth. There might be some diminishing returns because a lot of these things, like these tier 3 pieces, they actually are affected by your haste scaling, right? So maybe it's not 100% worth to have that much corruption, but you're not resisting as much, and it has diminishing returns on how it's scaling with your haste. And there's a lot of unknowns. So before I definitively say this is the meta is going to be everyone's running power 400 corruption and dying instantly, but killing that mob instantly. Before we know that, let's wait and capture a little bit more data. I think that's fair.
I think J.B would probably be doing that, from the way he was tweeting.
I saw one YouTube video on corruption where they was attacking a dummy, and he died instantly. He was killing the dummy.
Yeah.
I mean, I've laid weight into those things and I never dropped the health. And this guy was actually like ticking the health down, and then all of a sudden his corruption popped and he just died.
Instant death.
That's the RNG, right? It's risk and reward, right? Okay, so
it's just a risk reward system. Yes.
Just one question, and I know we're kind of beleaguering this, but I just want to make sure that I understand. So historically, the tournament realm always had like a certain eye level. All the gear was that same eye level. It was fairly high. The Heart of Azeroth was, I think, originally at the beginning it was like it was 50, and then as time went on, you guys increased it to 65 and then to 75. And maybe you don't know this yet, but is there going to be like what is the standard level going to be of the cloak on the TR? What's the item level that we're going to be seeing people wearing?
So when it comes to making decisions like this, we often collaborate with a lot of smart people. Okay. Like for myself, like I'm a 2000 rated, player who's not the best ever, but there's people, who are really good on our team. And there's also people who, we will maybe get some input from competitors, but then we'll also study the ladder to see like what a lot of competitors are doing on live. Because we also have to consider, a lot of these guys are practicing on live, right? Like that's the main practice. So we want it to be relatively close. So based off of all this information, as well as, collaboration with the developers directly, that kind of dictates what these numbers are. But currently looking at the projections, I mean, we already have people at level 80 necklace now, and we're months out. We were already all at like around, I think 11 this week for our cloak now.
Yeah, I think it got increased to 11 this week.
So a trajectory where we're at 15 cloak and like an 80 necklace sounds pretty likely in my opinion. Not 100% locked in yet, but I mean that's kind of what we're aiming at. And just give you guys like some insight on when we set up these TARs, we often set up the TARs to stay consistent or as to be as close as possible to the live game for an extended period of time. So, if we think that level 15 is where everyone's going to be kind of settling at around this time, then we'll place it at level 15, and then maybe before the LAN we might update it again. So we often try to keep it close to live. That's a new philosophy. Obviously, we've held back some trinkets in the past. That type of thing we actually are going to avoid. We're going to include everything that you would see on ladder, so it's the same game.
Wow. Okay. Incoming 80 dampening. Okay.
Or opposite, honestly. I mean, a lot of the PvE items nowadays are actually damaged. It's the motorcycle and it's the spike trinket. Those things are lighting people up.
That's true. So, although, actually, I did like watching what Jamili decided to do with the Spark on
Oh,
the 5v5. That was that was pretty.
These guys are smart, man.
Yeah, 3,000 IQ. I tell you.
I wish they told me before I give them the items in the realm what they're gonna do, but yeah, it never works that way.
So just one thing, historically though, on the TR, all the items have been buying only from a vendor, and a lot of the profession stuff didn't work.
Right. Yeah.
What was the decision behind that? What was the decision behind limiting profession items on the TR?
I think it was mostly just like diluting a little bit of like the gear situation. Like for example, a lot of people are going for the 470 leatherworking, tailoring, blacksmithing gear that has a guaranteed socket, and a lot of people are also going for the jewel crafting ring. Biggest thing to note about that is that it's just stats. Like it's not like an actual functionality difference. And when it comes to trying to match the item level of the tournament realm to live and like the stats level of the tournament realm to live, it's a pipe dream. I mean, the amount of variable on live is just impossible to match with a realm. So when it comes to stats, it was like, oh, okay, sure. But when it comes to like functionality, like a corrupted piece, or like a piece of bracers, I think there's like mage bracers out of one of these dungeons that offer, it's like, I think it's like required for a lot of scenarios.
Yeah.
Those type of like functional pieces, we feel like should be consistent between the two. But when it comes to just like a stat increase, it's like one of those things where it just adds a lot of work on our end, and it really doesn't change the gameplay, as it is mostly just stats. It's like, for example, you might get all that versatility that you just socketed from a higher item level piece that you have elsewhere. And when no one has it, everyone has it, sort of thing too. You know, when it comes to stamina and verse in particular, I feel like it's a pretty linear scale.
Okay.
So one other thing I also wanted to mention is there is some professions that we're discussing. Like for example, blacksmithing is something we allowed where like people can take that functionality and like lockpick jail cells. I don't know if you guys remember that dungeon. And engineering res is also something that we're considering as well.
Okay. I know
functionality is key for us.
Yeah, because I would love to see that, and then having resto druids as a must because of battle res would be, I think, an amazing thing for the MDI.
Right, or blood DK or boomkin. Exactly. It might incentivize some class diversity, but we'll see.
Awesome. Okay. Where are we now? We've gone all over the place.
I'm looking through some questions. So kind of going on more with the MDI. This is in 2019, the dungeon race had a limit on the number of tunes the team could change between. You know, this was a change near the end of the year. Will there be restrictions placed on classes, specs, character swaps this year? Can we expect that kind of same? No. So it's just if you have the class and spec, you can play it.
Correct. That is the mandate. So, we're trying to like, one, limit these guys on how much time that they're going to invest in this, but two, we also wanted to make it closer to live. Like on live, you have your main character and you kind of do keys with that main character. It's not really like I'm going to go min-max this. You're like, no, this dungeon, I actually need this item. I'm going to stay on my druid. So I mean, that was kind of what we were thinking, but ultimately we're going to allow the creativity of the competitors to find ways to, better themselves and maybe outplay their opponents with strategies. That's really what we want to do is we want to lend our format to creativity. And we thought we were limiting ourselves earlier, and we're going to move away from that.
Do you think that, and just the next question down, talking about limiting players and creativity, how has the equipment swapping played in? Because that was something that was also kind of done, and it was done so that it didn't have such a high skill cap. I mean, because there were guys that were just smashing things because they have all the different gear that they'd swap in exactly what they needed. And how do you think that's going to play in? I mean, because right now it's just not doable.
Yeah, I don't think it's actually able to be done in the game. Like, I don't think you actually, in like a mythic keystone right now, you can't actually change your gear.
Can't change your gear. Can't change your...
Yeah, I mean the MDI is just going to follow suit with what the game deems. I'm not sure if like swapping gear, if like for each encounter based off of like specialty abilities or anything like that, or maybe like you want to like stack stamina for a boss because it like one shots you. That's cool and creative. It is, but I'm not necessarily sure if that's like an avenue of outplay that the developers want to encourage. I can't really speak on their behalf. Honestly, it's more like a game design type question, but basically we want to make sure that we follow suit with whatever they deem. So people aren't going on live and playing a different game on TARS. It's our goal. Yeah.
And then the last kind of question that I'm interested in here is this free agent thing with
What is that?
So free agent thing is the mind child of my good buddy Jonathan Erner. So that is basically a looking for group for MDI teams for all intents and purposes. It's basically sign up and you can go through like all of the semantics of providing us your information, making sure that you're good and you're clean to go, because that's one other concern a lot of players have is they're I want to compete and this team wants to pick me up, but they don't know if I'm in good standing. They pick me up, I sign up for this tournament, we don't go through to the bracket because one of our players got flagged and the whole team's deemed ineligible. So one of these things that free agents actually provide is preemptive vetting, nice. Showing your fellow competitor that you're serious about taking part in the program and that you're actively looking for a team. That's effectively the goal, is to encourage more participation.
Now, you said something there that really sparked my interest, is that a person could be flagged and deemed ineligible. So what would be some things that would make you ineligible to compete in the MDI?
Yeah, totally. The biggest thing, and honestly the main thing, is your account being in good standing. So for those of you who don't know, but for Arena, your account needs to be in good standing 12 months prior to the first event. So you not only need to be a good boy or girl, you need to be a good boy or girl for a long time.
Yep. So no hacking, no griefing, no
using
lag box,
using exploit for multiple boxes.
Correct.
Or, hitting a world boss that is found to be dumping more gear than it's supposed to.
Right. So that's basically if you're
before the start of a season.
if you're literally cheating, you can't participate.
And you got to be that for 12 months prior to the event. Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Perfect.
Right.
Are there any other things that would kind of flag you, or is it just kind of
location?
As long as you're not hacking?
There's some locations that just don't acknowledge esports, if I'm honest with you. Like they just think we're gambling. So those local governments might prevent you from competing. And if you think that you might be from a region that's ineligible, check out the legal rules by the page. Just scroll down to the bottom. I want to say one thing that we did not make abundantly clear that I'm super excited about. Arizona, Vermont, Maryland, Quebec, Connecticut, they're all now eligible to compete.
No way.
Yes. So if you are a competitor,
right. Okay, yeah, because I saw Vin Rookie just like going off on that he got picked up by I thought it was Team Solo Mid.
TSA. Oh, you saw Zaryu.
Yeah, Zaryu.
Yeah.
Zaryu got picked up. Sorry.
Yeah, man, that's hype. Shout outs to him, dude.
I thought he was in Arizona, and
he's in Arizona.
Yep. Yeah, no, and he can't compete. But now
Naj is from Arizona. Krill,
I thought he
the legendary Shadow Priest, is from Quebec. I mean, Mitch Jones, he's from Maryland, I think. I mean, all of these, there's so many incredible players, rank 1 S tier players that are from these locations that couldn't compete before and now can. Yeah. This includes the MDI.
That's excellent. Amazing. That's actually wow. That's like years.
It's a really big deal. Yeah. That's literally the federal and state governments recognizing esports.
Wow.
Really exciting.
Okay. I want to pick up something here talking about the MDI stuff. So the free agent, just quickly about the free agent thing. So that's kind of an LFG part to it, right?
Right.
But the max team size. So on AWC, it's up to 4 players. MDI, because it's just this dungeon, so it's a 5-person roster. Can they have a 6-person?
Not identified by us, no. Okay. So that being said, they can roster swap 1 free swap per season, And every consecutive swap after that is a point reduction, a pretty hefty one. So you got to be pretty high up there to want to, or really early on to want to swap at that point. Okay. So realistically, there isn't 6 players per roster, and we don't recommend roster swapping often. If ever, honestly, try to find the team that you know that you'll play with. I mean, we have time. We're starting in April, guys. Find your solid team, but we understand things happen.
Yeah,
and that's why the free swap is there.
I will say that, was it 2017 Panda Global?
Yes.
It was 17.
What a story, dude.
I mean, I understand the concept of, don't team swap and stuff, but there is such good drama to be had.
Oh, I mean, yeah, it happens. But I mean, the way that those guys rose up though was legendary.
Oh my gosh, it was amazing. I still remember sitting in the crowd talking to people, and they're like, because actually it was you, Windstead. You were hyping it up, and people were like, "What?" And we're like, "Yeah, that's his third team, and he rose up twice to make it to here."
No, it was so good.
Respect to Rubka, Rosita Jones. It was Jelly Beans and Wallabear.
What a great showing they had that year. I was so bummed that they didn't take it. So bummed. It would have been just the cherry on top of it.
I think they made third.
They got second, dude.
Second.
Okay.
They got second, but then they got 0-4 in the finals, but we don't talk about that. But they got second. No shade.
No.
Kind of here's a great question from the Twitch chat here. When you're doing on the ladder and things, we have access to certain add-ons, Gladius, Gladiator Losa, different things of that nature.
Right.
But when you're doing land, you are not allowed those add-ons inside. You are now.
So so last land,
not Gladius.
It has changed. No, Gladius is allowed. Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Wow. So this was like a big discussion back in the day, but it actually got completely like. I think it got like overshadowed by some other drama that was happening. But yeah, last year we actually
change happen.
Last year, yeah.
So this last round of tournaments, we did see them with add-ons.
Yeah, they had DR trackers, they had plate buffs, they had basically everything but Omnibar and details, honestly. But with that being said, a lot of people were taking their combat log. If you're unfamiliar, type /advanced combat log. You can, you can literally keep a notepad file in your game client of your combat log, and they were taking that and actually parsing it with WoW Progress and checking out their breakdown. So they still had details. Yeah. It just was annoying. But when it comes to basically every add-on that you see on live, the only one that they didn't have was Omnibar.
Okay.
So, but every other add-on, which the biggest one is honestly diminishing return trackers. I mean, because we tend to see, two type of compositions manifest in Arena. We have attrition based, defensive, rotating, or, very disruptive compositions. And then we also have setup oriented compositions where they have goes. I mean, everyone has goes, but these guys are reliant on a timer for these goes. And, we saw these guys run rampant on ladder. They get to land, and attrition was just king. And so we kind of wanted to make sure that these tournaments, and that was the game is represented in both fronts, right? So
no, I mean, Road Mage Druid is always a great one to make it to tournaments with. It's just in the past you would see a lot of Road Mage Druid, and they clean up, and then when they go to LAN, the comp either doesn't perform very well, or just isn't there at all.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, we saw Waz, Raikou, and Chaz play RMD almost exclusively an entire season, and when they got to LAN, they were playing like double DH and DHDK and compositions that have crazy consistent pressure, but just weren't that super setup. And even at LAN, you still these setup comps didn't all in. Besides, Jamili, Jamili will all in no matter what. Blades Edge Arena is his map. I mean, but and I have to love that. But
he's reckless but fun.
He's reckless but fun. I think that we saw a few players at LAN inch more towards setup, and you definitely could see these setup oriented comps still can pump out enough damage where they can still hang a little bit with the consistent pressure. And so it was a little bit of a mix going on, but never to the point of people would be like, oh, this is an online tournament. I think that that's still an ongoing process.
I would say, I think part of it though is also when you're at LAN, there's the amount of points, the amount of stuff that's online, the money. it makes no sense to go
Oh, yeah.
reckless when
100%.
when you're fighting to win. Like, we're not talking ladder where it's like, oh, okay, I lost 20 points. I can get that back over whatever time.
I lost $20,000.
Yeah,
Yeah, no.
There's a little
20
bit more.
points, or
Dude,
I
I mean,
guess $2,000 for your team divide out. You know,
I had to pee twice before having this interview. The nerves were catching me. Imagine if I was doing this for money, or if like I was, or I have freaking Smexon on the other side of the stage screaming at me, "Die" every game.
Right.
Like it gets in your head, man.
Yep.
And
Get me a bucket.
when it comes to like, okay, guys, yeah, let's definitely play Rogue Mage Priest where we have about 5 goes until we go Yes, if we do every go correctly, they should be exhausted on cooldowns.
Yeah.
Having the confidence to be able to do that is, I mean, hats off to literally every setup oriented comp on LAN, because that's scary.
Mm-hmm. I think that right there says it all.
Yeah.
And that's why. So I want to grab one thing. So, and Windstead, I heard what you asked. I think there's a little twist into what was being asked on Twitch chat. Was more talking about bringing in certain add-ons that are required-ish for PvP and just baking them right into
into the game.
Into the game. So then a new player, when they come, a new player goes, hey, all right, I got my 15s down. I feel all geared. I want to try out this arena thing I keep hearing about, or this BG thing, and then not go in there and have no idea what's going on. Meanwhile, the other players on the other side of the screen have they have Gladius, they have Omnibar, they have GCD,
they have their
trackers,
command
they
center.
have their command center, right?
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's a fair question. And I will say that every LAN that we have, we ask the top competitors, hey, give us the add-ons that you think are like a must-have. Like, list them out for us, and maybe we can add more to the list or whatever. They give us this list, and then we sit down with the developers, and a lot of times, if something is consistent enough, we kind of identify like, well, yeah, this should probably just be in the game. Hence enters Trinket Tracker. So this is an ongoing thing that we're going to continue to do. Diminishing returns is definitely one of those things where, I think it was designed way back in the day when, who knows, like, I'm pretty sure Arena was first developed before esports was a thing, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of this stuff, like
it
was a side game that kind of grew into something bigger, and there's a lot of grandfathered stuff that we're kind of catching up on.
I mean, the first,
and that's one of them.
A AWC tournament, wasn't that an Intel Masters with
I think it was either Intel Masters or what they call WZFG or something. WSG or something like that.
Was over in Asia, I think.
Yeah, there was a couple. There was like 1 or 2 in Florida here, and there was one in Asia. You're right, but like I think that overall, I mean, if you go and you look at those guys' interfaces, there was no add-ons. That was just not allowed. But like, here's another thing to consider about those tournaments. All of them took place in person. The qualification in person. You went there in person. The qualification for us, because we're so widespread now, is not in person, right? So there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of changes that's happened over time, which makes the introduction of add-ons make a lot more sense.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Now, Gerissar, I agree with just about everything you're saying, except for the fact that you purposely put a PvE player into my PvP scenario. Get out.
Oh, how dare you? What? I don't even know what you guys are referring to.
How dare you? Oh, just his little analogy there of, I've done my mythic dungeon 50.
Now I want to
even
I was lost on that.
Hey man, don't hate him.
What's this?
We want them.
Yeah,
I understand.
We want the PvE players to try our stuff. I mean, I've been playing so much Mythic Dungeons lately, and I'm in love with them. I'm not gonna lie. Like, going in and being able to just immediately see like a dungeon I can queue for. Maybe my IO is a little higher, so I'm instantly accepted, and I just go and smash my face into stuff. That's fun. That's fun. I want the same for them. So I'm always in, shout outs to the subreddit Our World of PvP. They're always super welcoming to new people interested in Arena.
I just expect people to pay the price.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
expect people to pay the
there's some
price.
hazing. Don't worry.
That's
But
clear.
let's get them
So
in.
that's where
Right.
I magically have all these wonderful add-ons that
Yes.
you know what? I had to hunt for those dang add-ons. Thank you
You
very
earned
much.
them. You earned every one of
You
them.
guys
I
are
hunted,
horrible.
I tested, I sent
Okay.
feedback.
Yo, oh wait. I want to say
Okay.
one thing.
Okay.
I want to plug one thing too. If you are a
I have
new
2 questions.
player, if you're a
but yes.
PvE player,
Okay.
highly recommend checking out one video that is labeled WoW Arena Fundamentals.
Oh yes, the one.
Oh,
that was the one
yes.
that was put into the r/WoW
our World of
World,
PvP, yeah.
World PvP. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a beginner's introduction. It's I wish I had it when I first got introduced to Arena.
I got reminded of some things I forgot. So
Okay. Shoot.
Yeah.
More questions?
I think that just about nails everything that I really
I have 2. I have 2 that I have to ask. So just to I think we've cleared off pretty much everything into AWC. So
I don't think about everything.
Comp-wise. So on the MDI side, obviously you're running dungeons, so you're going to have a tank, a healer, and 3 DPS, right?
Right.
That's usually what everybody runs. And we kind of know what the meta is on that side. On the arena side, there's been a thing where it's a healer and 2 DPS.
Mm-hmm.
So I know what the rules say. I have a tweet here though that says something a little bit different than that. But I'm just gonna. What's the WoW Esports team's stance on tanks and healers in arena tournaments?
WoW Esports stance on it?
Yeah.
Well, first and foremost,
What's the DMachine
I mean,
stance?
we're gonna. That's a different stance.
Is it Guardian?
It's 2 different stances.
two different things here.
I'm open to tanks first and foremost. I think when you hear players say no tanks, never, ever, ever, I think that what they're trying to say is that we don't think that tanks can be in a place in their current tool set to be viable in PvP where they do enough damage where it's not like mind numbing, and take enough damage where it's not mind numbing, but still also have that same tool set in dungeons. Like they actually need to be so different between the 2 scenarios for it to be, fun in PvP that they're worried. So they don't want to say, tanks. So they don't want to ever accept tanks. This is speculation. So I think
Legion Pally. I thought that was a great.
Yeah, I mean, there's certain variables that like a lot of these tanks brought. Like, like I really truly don't think that. I do believe tanks could be good in arena. And when I say good, I don't just mean viable. I mean fun to play against and to play with. Do I think that is achieved now? No. And I think that a lot of times it's frustrating to play against these things because they take no damage, and it feels like the outplay mechanic against them sometimes requires you to do a lot more than what you feel they're doing. I mean, that's the bottom line of where I think a lot of these guys are. And
didn't we almost die to a blood DK one time, Gerissar?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
I mean, there's Guardian Druids that are virtually unkillable. But on the flip side, I mean, like historically, we saw before. Again, I throw back to Method Orange when Bean was playing with Sea-Doo and he hopped on his prop pellet and they were running around. Yeah. And sometimes
they're successful,
but sometimes they lost. Right?
But here's one thing and here's one thing I also wanted to point out about that. They were leveraging, I think it was like a reckoning spec where if you actually, they had like a 3-second window where their damage was increased drastically.
Yeah.
And so this window was almost kind of like you would use like a CC chain. I'm like, okay, he's in a trap. We have a window to, do this damage. So it was like one of those things where I might not be the paladin who's doing all the damage, but I have this ability that makes our go more potent. Exactly. And so it was definitely more an arena mentality. It was a PvP trink. So do I think that tanks might not inherently on the details meter be like the number one, but if they have abilities like that to support their teams aggressively and defensively, I mean, I think that they could be in arenas. Do I think that they have that current set now? I think that they don't take enough damage now, my personal opinion. But to be fair, I've only fought one Guardian Druid and I ran Tiger's Brew and annihilated him like instantly. So I don't necessarily know.
So what you're saying is that monks are the Achilles heel of guardian druids. Okay.
No, you know what I think the Achilles heel of Guardians Druid is?
What?
Spite Trinket.
Yes. Yes. Or Infinite Stars, but yeah.
Oh yeah.
I have one more question, and this one, and Twitch chat, I see what you guys are writing up there.
Excuse me.
Unfortunately, we're running out of time, so I have to get a choice. But this one I think is a bit more pertinent because you have your player base where you have the people that are professional, you have the people that are sitting at home 24/7, you have the people running through all this stuff, figuring it out, and then you have pretty much everybody else, the average Joe person that has a job and has school and has all these other responsibilities that can't sit and figure things out hour after hour after hour.
Right.
Looking at the schedule that you guys put out this year, very short. Like you said, like there's teams already there's teams already trying to punch through, trying to figure out all these nuances. And that's just on live. Tournament Realm is going to be completely different because, like we said, there's a whole bunch of other it's similar, but there's still some nuances.
Yes. Absolutely.
Why so quick? And is there, have you heard anything? Because I've heard some things when I was in the community and that of people being concerned that they're not going to be able, especially MDI, figure out the best path thing for things, and being able to get their times in high enough that the average Joe actually has a competing level that they're going to be able to compete against a team that's paid to do this.
Right. Yeah, I mean, well, first and foremost, there's a lot of reasons to why they're condensed in terms of like back to back. One, I mean, the competitors' availability. It's easier to book out 3 weeks instead of 1 week every month for 6 months, or 5 months or 4 months. So
Sure.
one of the things that we ran into in the past is we actually did split them up. We actually had 3 cups, and then we had 1 week off, and then we had 3 cups, and it actually just felt like they had 7 weeks straight, and it's because they still had the prep and the off time. And so
Yeah.
I am empathetic with that. Also, when it comes to booking crew, that's a huge hurdle to add a delay in there.
Okay.
And also, when you're talking about, letting these guys prep and stuff like that, I think there's a harmony that we need to find between, at a certain part, we need to reward, the players who are putting in the work, but at the same time, recognize that, the outplay that we want to encourage still allows the players that, are Joe Schmoes but have talent to still rise above. And that's why the Tournament Realm kind of prevents like a lot of that grindy stuff. So when it comes to giving these guys an ample amount of time to find these strategies and to execute on plans, even with the real life, it's not a perfect formula. We want to encourage the hardcore to really put their best foot forward, but we also want to be empathetic to them. So it's not necessarily like a one shoe fits all sort of thing. It's an iterative process. And in the past, we allowed a lot of time, and we got a lot of complaints that people were burning out, that people were just like over, finding this perfect run, and then moving forward, we limit that, and they're like, Australia was like, dude, there's not enough time here, man. Like, what are we supposed to do? And so we're iterating, and we're constantly changing it. I do believe that we're going to be giving more time this year than we have in the past, at least in the previous season, just in terms of how far ahead we're anticipating getting these guys onto tournament realms.
Okay.
But I think that there's still going to be some qualms on that side, and honestly, I think there's going to be qualms on the other side. Can't make everybody happy, but we want to make sure that the outplay potentials that we identify are encouraged. It's kind of a loaded answer, but basically we're trying to make everybody happy, and sometimes some people, aren't. Sometimes some people aren't. But here's the silver lining that I want to make sure we are always going to continue to iterate. When we were at GCD TV, each and every tournament improved every single time, and that same mentality we're going to be bringing to MDI and AWC. Every single tournament, we will be improving the broadcast. Every single tournament, we will be hearing feedback. And you can just imagine these programs year after year getting better.
Awesome. I look forward to this year And what's coming up?
We already announced 2021.
I do have one last question that
You
kind of
always
popped
have
into my head.
You always have
It's
one
just
last question.
One last
Okay.
thing. I know, just one last thing. Is
Just
that
one more.
David, we've
That's
had a great conversation. This has been absolutely fantastic. I imagine there's a lot of processes and prep and planning and that'll go into all of this. If you could have the magic wand, just ta-da, what would be the one thing that you would change to make it better, or intentionally worse if you want, if you're that kind of a guy. I don't think you are, but with just the one thing you would change about the MDI and AWC going forward. No resource restriction. Gerissar, maybe you got a shot to give him a chance to think.
No, I'm good now. I already know the answer. I just don't know how to say it.
Okay.
So I suppose.
Okay. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm gonna let you go first. Actually, let me.
Yeah, you formulate. I know exactly what I want. I wanted it effectively January 2019. Is with the cancellation of Heroes of the Storm Esports. I want all that money prize pool that got taken with it and given over to WOW Esports.
Oh, what a sweetie. Let's see. Yeah.
Wouldn't that essentially quadruple the prize pooling?
More than that. But yeah. I would probably bring it back to why I got involved in the first place, which was I found something I was passionate about and wanted to find other people who were passionate about it. And so if I were to make any change, it would be the tools to allow me to cast a net wider than I've ever been able to cast. World of Warcraft PvP is an extremely unique, and Mythic Dungeons are extremely unique game modes that you can't find anything like anywhere. 3v3 Arena, I mean, I played Battle Right. I loved it. Don't get me wrong. It ain't 3v3 Arena. I played Guild Wars. I played a lot of these games that I love. But Arena's got this control. It's got this polish about how you can control your character. Mythic Dungeons and the Keystone affixes specifically have changed my view on competitive dungeons completely. And these things I'm passionate about, I want to share with more people. I think that there's a lot of competitive players out there who, might play, not to meme or anything, but Fortnite, or they might play, various other very accessible competitive games. The competitive avenues inside World of Warcraft are super cool, but someone who might be, interested in, competitive games might immediately have to not play or try these game modes out because there's a barrier to entry.
Yeah.
So if I were to change one thing personally, I would add time boxed opportunities for competitors of other game modes or just players of other games to try those game modes out to see if this is the game mode that entices them to break that barrier to entry. I don't think World of Warcraft shouldn't become an MMO overnight because I want people to play Arena. No, I'm saying I want people to be able to try these super unique game modes without having to go through everything to get there, because I thoroughly enjoy Arena. I thoroughly enjoy Battlegrounds. I thoroughly enjoy all these things at max level. And it took me a really long time to get there. And I think a lot of people would enjoy them if they could have the opportunity to try it. So I would want to build a bigger community for the things that I'm passionate about.
I like it.
Is that I feel like that's a little bit of a cop out, because you want me to straight up say a feature, but
I think you nailed it on that. You want a lower barrier to entry, because let's face it, to get to level 120 right now, in order to participate in end game PvP, you're 24 hours if you go really hard at leveling, and
you could do it casually in a week. But then you
have
game
time. 24 hours game time.
Sure.
Game time, 24 to 50 hours.
Then you have the gear. Then you have the essence. Yeah. You have the Heart of Azeroth. You have the corruption gear. You're looking at a month of just PvEing before you feel like you're capable of walking in and not just flopping as soon as the first infinite stars hits you.
Right. No, it's tough. And also I also really enjoy being in an open world and progressing my character. I don't want I want my cake and eat it too. And honestly, I'm presenting a problem without a solution. Like, hey, all you smart developers,
this is magic wand. This is
yeah,
magic wand territory.
if we're talking magic wand, man, I want to play in an open world MMO where I can show off my dope transmog that no one else has, and also allow all my friends who never play WoW to also play the game.
One thing.
Man, magic wands are not limited, man.
This magic wand is, unfortunately.
Winstead,
for me,
what's your magic?
For me, so I think if you really want to get the AWC to really take off and to really just have greater viewership beyond anything that you could possibly imagine, the greatest change that you could make to facilitate that happening is putting me on the casting desk.
Okay. All right. Listen.
Ta-da!
Oh my god.
Listen. I mean, that I have to respect that. I really
versus Rich Campbell. Yeah.
Dude, send me a video of your casting. Send me a video. I'm gonna leave it at that.
All right.
So hold on. This magic wand may turn out to be true. Huh?
You just got to do the work,
All
man.
right.
That's what he's saying.
Okay. All right.
Speaking of the work, let's talk about some of the work that people have already done in our WoW PvP news.
All right. Who ordered up an extra large can of whoop-ass?
All right. So, first and foremost, always a pleasure to discuss hot fixes because they're so fun. I'm trying to say that with a straight face. It's hard.
Yeah, you're so upbeat, Gerissar. I love it.
So, a couple of things have happened in the last few weeks. Obviously, there's been some tuning that has been done to corruption because some of those levels have been found to be excessive. I believe the only ones out there that have not been fully tuned yet is I want to say it was the Tentacle with the Mind Flay and Infinite Stars. I think those ones are still a little bit high, but otherwise, Echoing Void that got reduced. And don't get me wrong, there's a few of them that were going to be reduced, but because the Race to World First was still going on, there was a delay added because it was going to. There already been so much effort put in. The teams were so close to killing N'Zoth that I think there was a delay. They delayed that.
I think that was a great choice. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was fine. I do feel for some people where they had decided to cleanse items and then keep others.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff.
It's tough. It's tough. Yeah.
Yeah, it is what it is. The only other one that I found, and this is very unfortunate, was the so this week was supposed to be Teaming Islands, which was supposed to be the new brawl, the 10v10 PvP Islands, but that actually got denied. That got delayed. And so teaming's put on the back shelf. I guess there's a bug there somewhere. And so they're doing the Temple of Kotmogu brawl again.
Cool.
I mean, it's a fun brawl. This time though, they changed, and the bonus movement speed and the haste have been increased by 50%. So when you pick up those little buffs, you're just going to be all over Speedy Gonzalez.
Yeah, mobility is a real problem with me as a Windwalker monk. So that's great. Yeah. I feel like I'm just gonna port around the map like forever. That sounds awesome.
Gosh. Can you imagine if a rogue got that?
What is it? Burst of speed. Rest in peace.
Yep. Exactly.
Alamos actually did 6 rogues in our 6v6 before and just like tried to burst of speed the orbs around to kite everyone. It didn't work.
No.
But yeah.
All right. So interesting though, because when you have the orb, just like when you have flags though, movement speed boosts don't help as much.
Right. Yeah. So I'm sure my rolls will literally just be like a foot.
Yeah. All right. So other than that, I don't have. Well, obviously there's the news we talked about today, so I didn't put that into the news because reasons. The only other big thing that happened was there was the kickoff to the Method Mayhem tournament series, which happened last weekend. It was a 5v5 tournament, special one of really, really fun to watch. It was. There was a couple times it got a little slow, especially I think the last match on the NA side, they were pushing 40% dampening before people died. But really interesting watching how people decided to not only comps, because 5v5 hasn't really been done for the longest time, but also their corruption, because it was live servers, so it was only what they had. So there's a few people that are running around. There's one team that were running around with, I think, 4 gladiator spikes. So there's just these big pools of darkness showing up on the ground as a person. So they drop on a person, stun them, and then the person would try to roll out, and they put one there, and the person would, and they put.
I think that between like there's like some warlock. I mean, the warlock snare is gnarly. Yep. Ring of Peace is gnarly. I mean, you can incap them because it doesn't do any damage right away, right? Well, exactly. It's like stacking. There's a lot of ways to keep them in that thing, and I love how all these players are using Breach and Spite. There's so much creativity.
Oh my gosh!
I want it to continue.
Me too. It's I like I said, I can't wait to. That's why I'm really curious to see what's going to be allowed on the TR and what the teams then figure out what they're going to run, because I think there's just going to be some huge big brain stuff done, and it's just gonna impress me. All right. I think that's it for the news.
One thing I can hit on in terms of like I do feel for the they're not the essences. I'm sorry, the corruption. I know that the game pacing at a high arena level feels better from a lot of players' perspective. But obviously, some players don't have these corruption pieces. But I will say that when it comes to like Infinite Stars and Tendrils in particular, I don't envy that balance change, because for Tendrils, you can kill them, right? So you have to take that into consideration when you're looking at PvP. And then Infinite Stars, it's a random target. So if you're facing like an Unholy Death Knight or somebody with a lot of pets, you might not be getting like any value for that. So it's how the heck do you weigh those type of variables into the damage they should be producing? Because, I mean, you're going to see detail screenshots for literal days. From various skill levels of people, of like, one game you might get 3 Tendrils on the first go, and if you don't have the right nameplates enabled, you might not even notice and just flop. And then there's 60% of the damage in 4 seconds. Tendrils obviously needs a nerf. So for me, I think that they could use a nerf. How much though? I don't know. I really like the pacing. I like damage. I like damage.
He likes damage.
I think it always feels good to be on the delivering end. It feels really crappy to be on the receiving end.
Yeah, and I mean, like a lot of for example, a lot of healers want Infinite Stars now because it just procs off of like the regular healing globals, and like I get it. And like if you don't have it, you're just missing out on damage, and we're always gonna want a min max,
of course,
as WoW players.
I want it all. I want to be the best.
I want it now.
The best.
All right. So we ran a little late starting. We're running a little long, but let's close this out with shout outs. And I have one right off the bat. I want to give a quick shout out to Sira over at he's an MDI person. He's been on the caster desk. He's over on the Keystone Masters Discord. Reached out to them just to make sure that I wasn't missing anything when we're going to sit down and talk. I think I represented the MDI community fairly well, and because me and him had about an hour 30-minute conversation just running through everything and making sure I had everything stuck in my head. There's actually one thing me and him didn't talk about that me and him had, but I think we're running out of time, and it's not that big of a deal. But
tell him to hit me up too.
Yeah. Well, actually, so he, oh no, actually I can't talk about that because he hasn't confirmed something. So yeah, maybe possibly we'll see what, we'll see what happens. Hey Sarah, if you're watching, DM me. All right. David, do you have any shout outs?
Yeah, you guys, thank you for inviting me. And thanks for doing what you do. Bringing the news to the community who cares. And, I like going through this. So if you guys don't know, he sent me a lot of these questions ahead of time so I can prep. Thank you for that, by the way. I often don't get that with a lot of interviews.
You're welcome.
But I mean, the amount of shout outs you have and the amount of community connections that you guys are doing, it warms the cockles of my heart. I appreciate it. Thank you for what you do for the community.
Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate it. I mean, I'd say this all started partially because of what you did back in the day, right? So, yeah. So it's reflective.
Full circle.
It is. It is.
We're back.
Circle of life. Windstead, do you have any shoutouts?
I want to give a shout out to all our supporters over at and subscribers for the Warcraft Radio.
Yes.
You know, I definitely want to give a shout out for them. It's been a lot of fun integrating the video and the chat, and it's much more interactive, and it's a lot more fun, I think, to do that, especially with Andelin being gone. I don't have somebody to poke at and put down as much. And so, the chat being there to help me, play off me has been great. And so I just want to say thank you, comrades.
I love you, buddy. I love you.
All right.
Still waiting for the official Winstalin channel to go live on YouTube.
I need to bring out some Winstalin recap videos. I need to start recording, just stream some of my games in Arena, and then just have Winstalin talk to me.
It's been a year. I'm still waiting. I'm trying to prop you, but I'm still waiting.
Yeah, no, I'll need to do it. All right,
David.
Okay,
sir.
Where can our listeners find you?
My Twitter.
Your tweeters.
At DMachine52.
Awesome.
Follow me on Twitter, and if you have any questions, hit me up in the DMs, or ideally tweet directly at me so other people can get involved in the conversation. I'm always down to collaborate, to talk, to chat, and if you get me talking about PvP, I won't shut up. Fair warning.
Fair warning.
I mean, there's a point in time when you fall asleep. I think we've proven that already, right?
Yeah.
There was that one time.
It's bad. I feel my wife in front of me shaking her head because I look at my phone way too much. Way too much.
You too?
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
This isn't about me. It's about you.
I also love building computers. So if you have a PC building question, let me know, especially if it's specific to WoW.
Yep.
Well, that game's weird. You need a lot of RAM. But yeah, I'm on Twitter.
Cool. All right. Sweet. Good to know. Winstalin.
Comrade.
Could you list off where our listeners can find us?
Jawohl, comrade. You can visit Warcraft Radio website to find us and many other great shows at warcraftradio.com. You can contact us directly with a tweet at technically_PvP or at email of technicallypvp@gmail.com.
Indeed.
Spasiba, comrades.
Spasiba. Also, you can always join our conversations over at the Warcraft Radio Discord. A link for everything we've been talking about is going to be in our show notes. I want to thank everyone for listening, and good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
All right. I don't know where the outro is, so I'm just going to say bye, everybody. I'm hanging up.
Bye.